Welcome back to another episode of the Casey Campbell Podcast. Casey Campbell with you, of course. We are pleased and honored to be joined by Bill Lester, who will be piloting the number 17 Camping World Ford for David Gilliland Racing. Also, we'll be helped by the Greater Atlanta Ford dealers as well as Tommy's Express Car Wash. Hey, Bill, how are you?
I'm doing well, Casey. How's it going?
Doing pretty good. Thank you so much for taking the time. Going to Atlanta this week, I got to ask you, what made you decide to want to come back and get back in the seat again after being gone so long?
Why would I want to do a crazy thing like that, right? Well, a number of reasons, actually. I just got done releasing a motivational memoir called Winning in Reverse. And it's really not an autobiography, but it's a motivational story that uses motorsports and auto racing, and my story in particular, as a backdrop for basically how you can live your best life and, pursue your dreams. I identify like 8 real keys of my success that anybody can use throughout whatever their walk of life is, or whatever their journey is, whatever they're trying to achieve or aspire to. I think these are tips and techniques that will help you out. And so one of the most important things that I bring forth is having passion for doing something, right? But right next to that is getting out of your comfort zone to be able to get to that thing that you're trying to strive for. So what could be more getting out of your comfort zone for me than to come back and try to race after not having been in a NASCAR vehicle for 14 years? I can't think of much more than what I'm about to embark on. So I'm going to basically take a page out of my own book and come back to the Atlanta Motor Speedway this weekend and mix it up with the youngsters. It's been a long time since I've been out there. There are probably only 2 or 3 guys that are still there from when I was racing, but I'm looking forward to it. And, I've always been a fan of motorsports, even when I wasn't competing. And so when I was watching some of these races, I was thinking to myself, I wonder what it'd be like to go back and race again, not after not being behind the wheel for such a long time. Let's go find out. So fortunately, I was able to get together the Greater Atlanta Ford dealers, Camping World, and Tommy's Express Car Wash. They've all gotten behind me, and we're going to go out there and do it this Saturday.
Yeah. A lot of people are very excited to see you back in the Truck Series, especially as NASCAR is making valiant efforts to become, more diverse. And you gotta be very happy about that. And how excited are you about the new direction that NASCAR is going? And I know you're still very active in the sport as well.
Yeah, no question. I'm elated by the turn that they have taken. When I was racing on a, more consistent basis in the mid 2000s, I talked about how the Confederate flag may be uncomfortable, and it wasn't something that people of color identified with. It was a deterrent. And if, NASCAR would, have the position of being America's sport and being reflective of the views and the hue of America, then it has to be inclusive. It has to reflect the diversity that this country holds. And NASCAR wasn't doing that. And I said, one of the reasons why is because if you have that flag there, that's something that we're uncomfortable with. We're not going to be in the stands or cheering something on where we don't feel welcome, because for us, the Confederate flag is a symbol of oppression and pain. And so for NASCAR to remove it, which is what they did last year, huge step in the right direction from my perspective. I think that it is going to be the, foundation for hopefully some other activities that NASCAR is going to put forth to make it so that, the sport is much more available and welcoming and inviting to a broader cross-section of people. I don't know what those plans are. I hope they go into some of the communities and cities and say, listen, we want to invite everybody, want everybody to have a good time, enjoy the sport. It's exciting. Why, you guys are out there, we understand, but we are trying to change that. So give it a shot, give it a look, give us an opportunity to see if it's something that you like. And I believe very firmly that, once a lot more people of color get to see what's out there and what they're missing, they're going to come back to it. I can tell you without doubt that I've brought groups of Black folks out to the racetrack and they've said, Bill, that was phenomenal. I mean, television doesn't do it justice. I mean, let me know when you're going to, go back out there again so I can go with you, or whatever, you've made a NASCAR fan out of me. So that says an awful lot because I mean, you can't describe what it's like to have, 40 or so cars going by at 200 miles an hour, blowing the hat off your head, and it being so loud, you can't hardly even hear yourself speaking to the person right next to you. I mean, the adrenaline, the excitement, just everything about it is so intoxicating. So I hope that NASCAR has got some plans afoot such that when we open back up and we're out of our COVID cocoons, more people can just come out, no matter what your walk of life is or whatever, and enjoy the sport.
What was it like, going into, in your racing career? What was it like to just navigate all that?
Well, it was huge. I mean, it was a cultural awakening because, I don't know if you're aware of the fact, but I'm a Northern Californian. I grew up in the Bay Area
Right.
and went to, college at Cal Berkeley, worked in the high tech sector for 15 years at Hewlett Packard Computer Company. And then, at the young age of 37, decided to see if I could put all of my focus and attention in making my dream of becoming a race car driver a reality. And at 40 years old, that's when I got to become a full-time professional race car driver. But that required me to move from California to the Southeast, where my wife and I settled in Atlanta. And so my first racing team that I, competed for was Bobby Hamilton Racing out of Mount Juliet, Tennessee. And just, the whole Southern culture was so different than anything that I've been exposed to. I mean, just the dialects, the way folks communicated, the way they interacted, what they enjoyed doing, just so many things were so different. It might as well have considered it being a different country. I mean, the things were so biometrically proposed for the most part that it's hard to describe it. I mean, I never knew what a Cracker Barrel was until I came to the Southeast. I mean, there are no Cracker Barrels in the Bay Area, right? So, things like Cracker Barrel and talking about things like, riding mowers. There are no riding mowers in Northern California because there's not enough grass to mow. It's like a concrete canyon in California. Whereas, in the Southeast, there's lots of acreage and land and such. And one conversation I remember, some of the crew guys were talking about a problem they were having with a Cub Cadet. And I said, well, what's a Cub Cadet? And they looked at me like I had two heads. I couldn't understand why I didn't know what a riding mower was. And I'm like, well, if you have a gas powered push mower, that's saying something. Most people only have a regular push mower without it being powered because there's not enough grass to cut, right? So just very different cultures. The fact that ma'am and sir are very prevalent in the Southeast, where that's not really the case in Northern California, which is much more progressive and, hey man, and all that kind of stuff. But here it's ma'am, sir, very formal, Bible Belt, just very different cultural situation. So it was very eye-opening for me. Just like for them, it was eye-opening for a guy from Northern California, a Black man, to come to NASCAR, who they didn't know who he was, right? Because in the Southeast, in circle track racing, pretty much everybody comes up through the same environment. They don't come up road racing sports cars like this, what my background yielded. And so I came out of nowhere. So they're like looking at me like, who are you, right? I mean, we don't know anything about you. You haven't been on dirt. You haven't been on ovals. Why are you here at NASCAR? So to make a long story short, it was a huge jump and something that was, I think all the better all the way around because a lot of folks learned a lot about me and I learned a whole lot about a whole lot of different folks, here in the Southeast as well. So it was, I think, a good experience all the way around.
Let's kind of go into, this last year, of course, there a lot of people realized that maybe a lot of people took a good hard look at themselves and said, maybe I'm a racist or I'm not, or, of course, NASCAR had to take that look as well. Of course, we're all aware of what Kyle Larson did last year and all that stuff. And of course, he's back in the series. And of course, we saw that, you guys got like Bubba Wallace, putting his own platform together. From that effort, what do you think about NASCAR's, especially with Kyle and stuff? And have you ever met Bubba? And have you ever talked to Kyle about that? Have you ever met them?
So I know Bubba fairly well, not really well, but fairly well. I've been supportive of his efforts and what he's done in terms of what you said, in terms of how he's used his platform. I think he's done a really good job of just opening people's eyes to just the lens, the very narrow lens that they typically had. and realize that, there's more to it than just your regular, small, culture that you've been used to. There's a whole world out there, at least a whole country here, in the United States. And at the end of the day, we're all just people, right? We're just human beings. Okay, there might be some differences in the color of our skin, but don't judge us on that. Judge us on the content of our character. Judge us as people, and then make your, decisions or, determinations based on that. Just don't offhandedly, think that we're doing this wrong or that wrong because we're not like you, that sort of thing. So I think that's great what he's done. Kyle Larson, on the other hand, he obviously made a misstep. There's no two ways about it. He admits to it, and that's to his, his credit. And he's taken the steps to get back into the mainstream of racing and to get more of an appreciation for just how damaging how his words were. I think he said it fairly offhandedly and off color and just didn't think much about it, like it was slang. But you know what? It's not slang. The fact is those words do hurt. They cut deep. And it was really surprising to me, being that he has a Japanese American background, that he wouldn't be more, culturally or racially sensitive to the, meanings that his words held. But, he got his education, he got his training, he's a better man for it, and he got a second chance. And I'm glad he got that second chance. I've never, begrudged the fact that happened. I always believe that, everybody's entitled to a second chance, but learn from your mistakes. And I believe wholeheartedly that he has, and he will continue to do so. He'll be a better man as a result of it. And, needless to say, he sure landed on his feet because, him being with Hendrick Motorsports and having already won, he's taken, terrific advantage of the opportunity that was provided.
Yeah. Okay. So let's get back to, of course, you're running at Atlanta. Of course, what do you like about that place? And of course, you call the state of Georgia home. Yes. What's it like to, go back to your home track and like a tough, abrasive track like Atlanta that hasn't been repaved in over 2 decades?
Well, I'll tell you, when I just thought about what sort of track I'd like to come back to, in terms of getting out of my comfort zone, Atlanta Motor Speedway, checks all the boxes. I mean, if I want to come back to a track that was in my comfort zone, I'd come back to a road course like, the Daytona road course or the Charlotte Roval, because my background is in road racing, turning right and left. But really getting out of my comfort zone, okay, that's an oval for me. But I love Atlanta Motor Speedway because of how fast it is. I've always said all along that the faster the track, the happier I am. I didn't grow up on bull rings or on dirt and, little tight confines. I grew up on, 3.5, 4 mile road courses with 14, 15 turns, right, left, up, down, accelerating, braking, not just dropping in fourth gear and turning left. But if I'm going to come back to an oval, I definitely feel more comfortable coming back to a track that's in my backyard. I mean, I don't have to travel. I think that's a bonus in this day and age. I also have a great infrastructure here in terms of family and friends here in Georgia and Atlanta in particular. And I got folks that are coming out to support me, so I'm happy about that. But, it just made sense. I was able to get the support of a local concern like the Atlanta Ford dealers. So, I mean, that, obviously, it went a long way towards why Atlanta made sense for me. I'm not going to go race, in Bristol with the Atlanta area Ford dealers behind me. That's not going to work. But so it all just kind of lined up. I mean, Tommy's Express, they have a location in Jonesboro, Georgia, which is right next to Hampton, where Atlanta Motor Speedway is, that they're really trying to drive traffic to. So, I mean, just all the, stars aligned and everything worked out. I mean, I'm within effectively 2 months of the release of my book, which was on February 2nd, Winning in Reverse. And so, hey, I want to continue to kind of hit and strike while the fire's hot. So, the date of March 20th worked really well with the release. The venue here in Atlanta worked really well with where I am locally. And so and it's a fast track. So, I mean, what more could I ask for?
Yeah. All right. Bill Lester, thank you so much for taking some time. I know you got to get to your next appointment. So good luck this weekend in Atlanta, and let's have you on again sometime.
Thanks a lot, Casey. I enjoyed being with you.